Hi, welcome to the podcast. I am Joe Posnanski, and with me is Michael Shore. Michael, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You know, we've been recording this thing on video for the last few weeks, and you can see that over at my YouTube channel. We're posting it in my newsletter. There are a few other places that you can see it. But here's the funny thing: we record this on something called Riverside, and at the top of Riverside, it'll always tell me actual recording is higher quality than it looks, which I assume that's because, like, I look at this and I go, clearly this is a terrible video, but apparently the actual recording is of higher quality. So I don't know how it would be. I mean, I assume they're talking about the actual quality of the video itself, but honestly, the quality of this podcast is not going to be better in actual.
Well, I mean, I would buy that the video quality is higher, but the quality of the actual product is the same, very low quality it's always been.
Exactly. It is. There's nothing they can do. They have never come up with an AI.
There's nothing technology can offer us.
No. All right, we're going to talk some baseball. We're also going to do our retroactive Oscars today. The POScars, if you will. Huh? POScars?
Yeah. POScars. The reposcars, the retroactive POScars.
The reposcars. Yeah, that's good. That's better. That's better. That's way less catchy. So that's better. The reposcars. But first, I believe for the 29th consecutive week, you have a new segment.
I do. I have a new segment. So in mathematics, like, in order to create the exact opposite of a certain number, you simply put -1 over that number, right?
That's right.
That is the mathematical opposite of 7 is -1 over 7. So I have a new segment. It's called the mathematically opposite NBA Executive of the Year award. So this isn't just the worst executive. This is the actual mathematical, scientific opposite of the concept of the NBA Executive of the Year award.
So this is, if best and worst are opposites, that's still not going far enough.
Still not enough. Not enough to accurately represent what I'm trying to represent here, which is like the if you like designed the world's most powerful supercomputer, and you said, I need the exact mathematical opposite of the concept of the NBA Executive of the Year, who would that person be? And this year, and I don't think this will be a surprise, the mathematical opposite NBA Executive of the Year award goes to the Dallas Mavericks' Nico Harrison. Now, I just want
to show your work, man.
I'm going to. Believe me, I'm going to, because it's not just that he's the mathematical opposite of the NBA Executive of the Year. It's that I believe he has had the worst, 6 weeks, 8 weeks that any major league sports executive has ever had. You'd have to really. I think you have to go back to the sale of Babe Ruth to try to find a worse 6 weeks.
So you are saying that because I mean, we obviously have plenty of good recent examples. You are saying that the 4 weeks around the Cleveland Browns signing Deshaun Watson,
yes,
that this has done more damage,
without question. It's not even close. Now, what I'm about to say, which most of which people know, but I think needs to be laid out for history, is obviously well known. In fact, all of it's well known. But I think that really hearing it laid out end to end is special. So Nico Harrison of the Dallas Mavericks last year, and this is a huge part of this, right?
Yes.
Last year, his team went to the finals.
They did.
He did things like sign Kyrie Irving, which people were like, I don't know, guy, famous malcontent. And then Kyrie Irving loves it in Dallas, plays incredibly well with Luka. The team beats like seemingly much better teams pretty easily in the playoffs, gets all the way to the NBA Finals.
Right.
He drafts a year and a half ago, he drafts Derek Lively, who is like the perfect rim running big to catch lobs from the incomparably talented Luka Doncic, and he's created a team with Gafford and Lively as bigs, and Irving as a on-ball scorer and off-ball scorer. He has Luka Doncic, who's 25 years old. Just think about this for a second. Luka Doncic is 25 years old.
Yes.
And is a 5-time All-NBA first-team player.
That's right.
He has had, at age 25, almost, well, I was going to say without question, you could argue this, but he's in the conversation, and he's at the top of the conversation for the best first 5 seasons by age 25 that anyone has ever had in the history of the league. Yeah. He's a guy who averages, whose year is like, 32, 10, and 9 or something every single year. So given all that, given how high he's riding,
can I even throw in even one other element?
Please.
Because you did touch on this. He built the perfect team around Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Right? Like what made him a successful like what made this team successful, what made this general manager successful is that he through drafting, through taking a chance on Kyrie Irving, through doing various other things, built an NBA Finals team.
That's right.
Around the one great asset he had, which was Luka Doncic.
That's right. And that team dismantled the Minnesota Timberwolves, who had just beaten the Nuggets, the defending champion Nuggets.
That's right.
Dismantled them in 5 games. Like, just absolutely wasn't even close. Like, took them apart.
Yeah, Minnesota did not know what to do.
Yeah.
Did not know what to do.
So here's what he did then, Nico Harrison, the mathematical opposite of the NBA Executive of the Year award winner for 2025. He decided that instead of giving Luka Doncic a supermax contract at the end of the year, he decided he was going to trade him because he didn't believe in him long term. He didn't believe.
Step one.
Yeah, he didn't believe that Luka, who is famously a beer drinking, cigarette smoking, not super in shape kind of dude, was going to age badly. So he thinks to himself, okay, I'm going to shock the world. I'm going to trade this guy. And who should I trade him for? And because he's concerned about the health and the durability of Luka Doncic, who's 25, he decides he only has one target only. That target is 32-year-old Anthony Davis, who was nicknamed Street Clothes by Charles Barkley because he's always hurt.
That's right.
So 7 years older, less durable by far than Luka Doncic.
Among the least durable great players.
That's right. Now, if you decide that you're going to trade Luka Doncic, you have many options. One of them is you sign him to the Supermax and then you trade him. You open him up to the highest bidder.
Right.
You pick another team's best player who's younger and more durable, and you say, give me that player as well as 3 other players, as well as 250 draft picks over the next 500 years.
That's right.
You could wait until the offseason and negotiate with him and then trade him. You could do a sign and trade. There's the NBA for a player like Luka Doncic, I would say offhand, there's probably 4 teams who don't pick up the phone, right? I think if you call the Celtics and you say, what about centering a trade around Doncic for Tatum, the Celtics probably say no, even if they secretly think, well, Doncic is probably better than Tatum. You probably say no because Tatum is your guy and you want to ride with your guy forever. But if the trade is like centered on Jaylen Brown, you do pick up the phone.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know who these 4 teams are that don't pick up the phone. I guess they're the teams that just can't.
I think the Thunder, if they say it has to involve Shea, they say no.
No. I mean, but that's not picking up the phone.
Right.
I think what you're saying is that you call them up and you say, "Oh, sure, we'd love Luka Doncic."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Shea. Oh, yeah. Well, we're not doing
then
that.
we can't do it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think
They're all picking up the phone.
They're all picking up the phone. Then if it's about Jokic, the Nuggets say no. If it's about Shea, the Thunder say no. If it's about Tatum, the Celtics say no. If it's about Giannis, the Bucks say yes without question. They're like, yeah, well, let's talk. So you basically have I
think what you're saying is, just so to clarify, what you're saying is there are probably 4 or 5 players in the league you would not trade for.
There are maybe 4 players that you don't trade for Luka Doncic, or at least you don't even consider. I would say you don't even consider them, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, so he says, okay, the guy I'm targeting is 7 years older and hurt more.
Yeah.
That's my excellent plan. He then, and this is a detail that was discussed a lot at the time, but since then so much has happened, we've forgotten it. He doesn't even get from the Lakers all the things that he should have gotten from the Lakers, right? Like, he should have gotten, in exchange for Luka Doncic, he should have gotten every pick the Lakers had. Like everyone they had, everyone they could trade forever. He did not do that. He should have also gotten Austin Reeves. Didn't get him either.
Yeah.
He could have gotten, I mean, obviously forgetting about what he could have gotten from another team, he didn't even get the right package centered around the 32-year-old oft-injured Anthony Davis that he should have gotten, which makes no sense. It simply makes no sense. And
well, is there a way to construct a trade around Anthony Davis that would even like that at any point? Like, is there, like, if the Lakers said, we'll give you everybody, we'll give you the whole team?
No, there isn't, for the simple reason that the team you trade Luka Doncic to is not going to be a lottery team. So even getting the picks, like, you have to center that trade around guys. It has to, the trades that would have made sense to me are to teams like the Thunder or the Rockets, who have dozens and dozens and dozens of like 22-year-old guys with high ceilings, right? You could have centered the trade. You could have called the Rockets and said, let's talk about Amen Thompson as the centerpiece, and then like 5 of your other young guys,
5 other guys,
and then 11 picks. You could have gone to the Thunder and said, you have like 4 guys named Jalen Williams. I need at least 3 of them. And and as well as, by the way, the Thunder have like this is not hyperbole, have like 12 first-round draft choices in the next 2 or 3 years. Like, they have so many picks, and granted, some of them are valuable and some of them are not, but they have Philly's pick this year. The Phillies are terrible, and Philly terrible. They've got the Heat's pick, I'm pretty sure, for this year, which is like, and the Heat are terrible. I think it's top 15 or 16 protected, but regardless, you could have at least gotten, even though OKC's picks aren't going to be that valuable, they have other people's picks. So like, and again, I don't think OKC does the trade if it centers around Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, especially when they are, they're cruising to the Western Conference.
Why would they?
I don't know. Why would they? But that's the level of trade you're going for. Okay. So he doesn't even get, he makes an insane decision to center the trade around a 7 years older and hurt more.
And he's not even calling anybody else.
No, he's not even calling anybody else.
That's important. Like, there's one guy and one guy only I want in this trade.
That's right. So he does that, and Rob Pelinka, who's probably going to win NBA Executive of the Year.
Yeah.
And the reason he's going to win it is because he picked up the phone and said, hello. Yeah. He picked up the phone and said, hello, ? And then a guy said, what if I do the craziest thing that anyone has ever done in this league? And for that, Rob Pelinka will win Executive of the Year. Okay. So,
hey, by the way, deserves it. Did not hang up the phone.
Didn't hang up the phone. Didn't hang up the phone. And for that, congratulations, Rob Pelinka. Okay. So he gets Anthony Davis. And what he says is, we think that we're better now, and we have a 3 to 4 year window to win a championship. That's what he says in his press conference. And he also says, insanely, after 4 years, I mean, I probably won't be around anymore, so it doesn't really matter, which is
truer words never spoken.
Really very true, but also like a thing you're kind of not supposed to say. We're like, yeah, I mortgage the future because I won't be a part of it. That doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
So Anthony Davis comes to the Mavericks, who are bereft, the fan base bereft by the trade.
As they should be.
As they should be, yes, because the guy who had the best first 5 seasons in the history of the NBA has left your team for no reason. Anthony Davis plays one half of one game and plays very, very well. Very exciting half of basketball. And then pulls a groin muscle and is out for 6 weeks or 8 weeks and probably forever.
Or forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that 3 to 4 year window. Now let's call it, it's down to about 2 years immediately after one half of one game. Okay. By the way, Derek Lively and Gafford and a bunch of other guys already hurt, already not playing.
Yeah.
So they're out. Okay.
But by the way, not as predictable as Aaron Roberts blowing out his leg in the first Jets game.
Yeah.
But in that neighborhood.
In the neighborhood of Aaron.
Nobody could be like, oh my gosh, what a terrible break for the Mavericks. I mean, who would have? No, everybody was like, yeah, okay. No,
so this is the key point. Okay. So I've heard a couple people, including Brian Windhorst, a analyst and a commenter on the NBA, who is par excellence. But no one better talking about the NBA. He actually defended a little bit the Nico Harrison and the Mavericks by saying, look, injury luck in the NBA is just bad luck. There's nothing you can do. The thing is, if you had traded for a guy who's never hurt,
right,
then you would say, yes, what are you going to do? Guy strained an adductor or whatever and went down. But that's not what happened. What happened is you traded for a guy who's always hurt, who then got hurt. So like if you trade for Tatum and Tatum gets hurt in a freak accident like he did in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Heat, that's bad injury luck. If you trade for Joel Embiid, a man who doesn't have any knees left, he used to have 2 like most people and now has none. If you trade for Embiid and he has a knee injury, you can't say that's bad luck. That's predictable outcome, right?
Right.
So just like Aaron Roberts of the New York Jets, predictably, immediately, Davis gets hurt. Then, because Davis gets hurt, Kyrie Irving is the only player left on the Mavericks who has the ability, and this is a crucial ability in the NBA, I would say, to score points. Yeah. There's one guy left on the team.
One of the keys.
It is like, it's an oft overlooked aspect of NBA play that you really need guys who can actually score points during the game.
As they like to say, score the basket.
Score the basketball. You can score put the rock in the hoop.
In the hoop, right.
So Kyrie now has to play for every 48 minutes the Mavericks play per game. Kyrie has to play in 52 of them in order for the team to compete. And because he has to play 52 out of every 48 minutes in the game, Kyrie splits a double team, goes up for a layup, lands awkwardly, tears his ACL, and is now out for all of this year and most of next year, I would say.
Yeah, might not even play next year.
And coming back from that injury, obviously, anytime an athlete tears an ACL, who knows? Also, he'll be 33 years old. Yeah. Also, they no longer have Luka Doncic because they, I don't know if you remember this from earlier in the segment, they traded him to the Lakers. So now the Nico Harrison proclaimed 3 to 4 year window is down to, I would say, conservatively 0 years. They now have a 0 year window in which they can win because Kyrie will be 33 he has a player option this year at the end of this year for like $45 million. He can opt into that and likely will, I would say, given the fact that he's
only because of the injury.
Only because of the injury. But then their question will be, do we give this guy a max extension off of at 33 coming off of an ACL?
Right.
And I don't know the answer. Also, the question now becomes, what do you do with Anthony Davis? Because Anthony Davis is going to be 33 coming off his 204th injury that has knocked him out for... He shouldn't play this year. They shouldn't bring him back. There's no reason to bring him back. He's not. The team isn't going anywhere without Kyrie and without Luka Doncic, who, again, I don't know if you remember this from earlier in the segment. They traded to the Lakers. They traded Luka.
Oh, they traded. That's right. That's right.
So he's no longer on the team. So they have no players. They lost last night by 35 or something to the Bucks. And So they now have a 0-year window. They now have no Kyrie for the rest of this year and most of next year.
That's right.
Anthony Davis, who knows? On Windhorse podcast, Tim Bontemps was making the argument, and I think he's right, that the actual smart thing to do would be to trade Anthony Davis over the summer to someone who could give you anything for him, because what's the point of having him next year when they don't have Kyrie because he's hurt? And again, they don't have Luka Doncic because if you remember, if you recall, they traded him to the Lakers. So the 3 to 4 year window, the Nico Harrison NBA mathematical opposite of executive of the year award winner for 2025 proclaimed the team had, now has a 0-year window.
Yeah.
The team has zero future. They traded a bunch of their draft picks in the past. So they don't have a ton of draft capital. They didn't get a ton of draft capital back from the Lakers because he didn't get enough draft capital back from the Lakers because he only went to the Lakers in order to trade Luka Doncic. And so they don't have a ton of picks. They did when you're in a rebuild mode, which they absolutely are.
Yeah.
The picks that you have are that's you're talking 3, 4, 5 years out before those picks turn into, even if you nail it, right?
That's right. If you nail it.
So when you put all that together and you really look at how the Mavericks were playing really well heading into around the All-Star break. They were playing very well. I think they won 9 out of 10. They had Luka and they had Kyrie and they made the finals last year. And who knows what would have happened this year, but they had like this pretty good team, the defending champions, who were going to head into the playoffs with a lot of, even if they ended up as the 6th seed or something, they were going to head into the playoffs with a good deal of confidence. They were the 5 seed last year and made the finals. So they were going to have a lot of confidence. And in the span of 6 weeks, he turned the defending champion, Dallas Mavericks, featuring a generational superstar whose ceiling by the time he retires is one of the 10 greatest players of all time, I would say. And who you would absolutely bet would reach that. Like even though he's not crazy that Luka's conditioning is an issue, that he does have some bad habits, whatever. Okay, so did a lot of guys when they were 25. And maybe you say like, look, you don't give up on guys like this. You super max them out. You sign them to 5-year deals. You let them play on your team for another year or a year and a half, and then maybe you trade him when he's got 3 years left on his deal and is still a all-NBA player, and you see what you can get for him then. Instead of doing that, he dismantled the team. He absolutely dismantled the team. He traded that guy. He got a guy back who gets injured all the time, who then got injured. Their last superstar got injured, and now their current roster that they're running out every day is a bottom 7 rotation in the league right now. And I just think that we need to take a moment, even though everyone knows all this, we need to take a moment and celebrate the worst 6 weeks that any GM for the NBA has ever had. It's really special.
It is special. There are 2 things that come to mind. The first thing is, look, I know what you're saying, but you couldn't like sign Luka to a supermax deal and then deal him in 2 years if he doesn't shape up, if he doesn't do this, because by then Anthony Davis is 34 years old. So the only guy you can trade for. But secondly, do we have to ask this question? Is this a Brewster's Million scheme?
I have wondered that. I've absolutely wondered that. Right.
Like, did you look at your team and go, how many steps would it take for me to utterly and completely destroy this franchise?
Is this here's what's occurred to me. Here are the questions I've asked myself. A, is this a Brewster's Million situation where it's like you can either make $30 million if you run this team, or $300 million if you destroy it?
Yes.
And like, that's a question. A similar question, is this a producers type scam? Has Nico Harrison sold 600% of the Mavericks, and he needs to tank the value of it so that those shares are worthless so that he gets away with the scam? Another scenario I've run through in my head, is this a Taken situation starring Liam Neeson? Did a member of Nico Harrison's family get kidnapped, and is he wearing an earpiece and they're telling him what to do in order to get his family back?
And he's like, I don't want to trade.
I
Luka
wish I
Doncic.
didn't have to do this, and I
I
know
know,
what's.
and he's like, and not only are you trading Luka Doncic, you're trading him to the Lakers for Anthony Davis.
Well, they said you have to tank the team, and he was like, okay, what's the worst situation I can conceive of that won't immediately get me fired?
Right.
Because if he traded Luka Doncic for, the Cleveland Cavaliers 2029 second round pick, people would be like, okay, what's going on? So he had to create a scenario that had
plus
some
they're telling him in
plausibility.
his earpiece, if you get fired,
it deals off. You have to survive to the end of the year. Yeah.
You have to survive.
Also, I know this isn't his fault, but the coup de grace, the final bit of whipped cream on the top of this crap sundae is the same day that Kyrie got hurt is the Mavericks announced they're raising season ticket prices 8% next year, which is just chef's kiss terrible. Like it is one of the worst read the room moments in the history of professional sports. Like we're gonna destroy the team. Just tear it into tiny pieces and throw it in the toilet.
In front of your eyes, right in front of your eyes.
In front of everyone. And, you know, I got to say that I have no love for the Dallas Mavericks. I have no love for Dallas in general. We've talked many times about hating the Cowboys. I don't hate the Mavericks as much because who cares about the Mavericks, really? But I feel incredibly bad for that fan base. I mean, I cannot imagine making the NBA Finals, and even though you lose to a far superior team, you still are like, we are here. We've got this guy. We've got one of the guys that like he's already a Hall of Famer, and he is 25 years old, and we are going to have this guy on our team until he's 38 and decides to retire. And and just having him on your team means a couple things. Number one, your team's going to be pretty good. You're going to make the playoffs every year. Number two, you have a legitimate chance at winning a title every year, as long as that guy's on your team. And number three, a whole bunch of other good players will see your city and your team as a destination because they all want to play with that guy because that guy is a magician, right? And then in the blink of an eye, that guy's gone. The guy they trade for immediately gets hurt. The other guy in your team immediately gets hurt, in part because, and they can say whatever they want, in part because he had to carry the load for the whole team.
Right.
And suddenly you're like, I have a team that is every night playing 3 to 7 two-way guys signed from the G League, and I'm losing to the Bucks at home by 35 points. And that no fan base deserves that. And that's why you bring up Deshaun Watson, right? So the Deshaun Watson signing, horrendous decision. Absolutely horrendous decision. Horrendous for a gameplay reason and horrendous for a moral reason, without question.
Right. Yes.
But the problem with this is you're not signing a terrible guy. You have the good guy and you're getting rid of him for nothing. And I think as far as GMing goes, that is a far greater sin than making a mistake signing a guy.
Getting wrong on somebody is not the same.
Not the same.
So I think that's fair.
Congratulations. I just want to say officially, congratulations to Nico Harrison, the POScars inaugural 2025 -1 over the concept of the NBA Executive of the Year award winner.
Yes. In fact, good enough. I think had it at the kind of season where the award is now named
after him instantly. Yes.
It's the POScars Nico Harrison Award.
It's the Nico Harrison Award for being the mathematically opposite NBA Executive of the Year.
As chosen by the POScars.
As chosen by the POScars,
I think that's right. I guess the final question to ask about this before we go on to our POScars, could he have done something worse? What I'm saying is like because we know that he is at the mathematical opposite of NBA, but in a realistic scenario, not like we just gave him away. Could you, if you wanted to destroy your team, could you come up with more of a scenario than deciding that Anthony Davis was the only guy you wanted, calling only the Lakers and trading Luka Doncic. Is there a way?
I don't think
that's realistic.
I
Actually
honestly
realistic.
don't think there is, because again, you have to, in order for the trade to go through and not be like the kind of trade that people make at the end of their fantasy football league seasons when they want to tank the league.
And the league can actually
Step in.
nullify trades, and have in the past.
So
I mean, obviously for Cleveland, they used to do that all the time.
if he had called the Bucks and said, "I'm trading you Luka and all of our remaining picks for Brook Lopez," I think the league would have stepped in and been like, "No, you can't do that. Like this, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what kind of weird."
Yeah, I think they would have killed it before it ever went public.
They would have killed it. Yes, but Anthony Davis is legitimate enough of a star that the trade could go through. But again, it is truly wild to me that you don't say, "Listen, I'm going to take a lot of heat for this. I'm not doing this unless you give me every asset you have." And every asset you have includes at least Austin Reeves and the rest of your picks. Like how he didn't get both Austin Reeves and the rest of the Lakers picks that they had to offer is truly, truly insane.
Do you think that when he made this offer to the Lakers, that the Lakers were then like, okay, do we need to keep negotiating? And he's like, no, I'm fine. That's all I want. Just like, do you think he cut it off at some point? Like there was nothing, clearly at no point did the Lakers say no to anything in this trade.
Yeah.
This trade, I don't think the Lakers at any point were like, oh, that's, you know what, we won't go that far. So there was no negotiating. This is clearly everything that he wanted in this deal.
I guess I don't. I mean, again, like,
or said, no, they were not going to give up Austin Reeves. If they said, you know what, we're not doing that. We love Austin Reeves. We're not going to give him up for one of the greatest players who ever lived. We're not doing that. If they had said that, which I do not believe they did, but if they had said that, he didn't then go, okay, deal's off.
I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I think it's possible that Pelinka read correctly that Nico Harrison was on tilt, and maybe Nico Harrison said, "I want Reeves," and Pelinka was like, "I'm going to call his bluff. I don't think he's going to back out of this." And so, no, you don't get Austin Reeves. And Harrison was like, "All right, well, shoot, we tried."
I would, if I was the Lakers, I'd be a bit nervous.
I mean, if you're
losing Luka Doncic over Austin Reeves,
if you're Pelinka, though, you also at some point realize, look, if this deal falls apart, word gets out that the Mavericks are trying to trade Luka Doncic for Davis, and he's going to look really bad. People are going to go crazy.
But he's not going to look worse than he is actually making the deal.
I know. I've tried so hard to understand this. I really have. And
Harrison does not seem like a dumb guy.
No, and I just, I don't know, man. There's something else. There's something.
There's something.
Either there's something else that we don't understand. Look, there's two. I said at the time this happened. There's two ways, and two ways only, that this doesn't end Nico Harrison's career. Right. One of them is if Anthony Davis stays healthy, the Mavericks get into the playoffs and make a deep run and maybe win a title. Which
I never bought that as a possibility.
If that had happened, though, you would say, like, okay, you know what? Fair enough, right?
Right. And gone back to his Kentucky days.
Sure.
Or whatever,
Sure. That was one way. That way is now not possible. After 30 minutes of the first game, that way is not possible. The other way that it's possible that it doesn't end Nico Harrison's career is if in the next 6 weeks or something, Luka strains his calf again, misses the whole playoffs, then in the offseason has like a bad back because he's not in shape, misses the first half of the season, doesn't play well, then strains a lat and just breaks down over the next 4 years after the Lakers give him the max contract that he's going to get. If that did happen, at least you would say, okay, he wasn't insane.
Yeah, but you're not putting him in charge of a team. I mean, just because of that, no way. I think the only real way it doesn't end his career is if word gets out somehow, some way that this was forced on him by Dallas ownership.
Right.
That's
right.
That to me. Like if that happened, if he had like literally had no choice but to make the deal, and he wanted to do it fast, and he figured the fast, like he said, I want Doncic out.
Yeah.
Like by this
we're not paying him, so do
we're
whatever
not
you
paying
can.
him, and I want him out. I don't want him anywhere near the club or whatever. And which I don't know why this would have. This is not a real scenario, but I'm just saying if we're trying to save the man's career,
as long as we're talking about Brewster's Millions and the producers, have you heard the hilarious theory about the conspiracy theory about what really happened? It's wonderful.
No.
So NBA has been talking about expansion for a million years.
Yeah.
Most popular locations include Las Vegas and Seattle.
Yes.
And so the Adelsons, Miriam Adelson owns the Mavericks now, the majority owner, because Cuban sold to them. They're obviously in the casino business. That's how they made their money. So the conspiracy theory is that Adelson wants to move the Mavericks to Vegas.
So this is the major league scenario.
She wants to move the Mavericks to Vegas instead of them expanding there, because the expansion is on hold, presumably until the Celtics team sells, because the expansion fees are based on the average value of NBA franchises. So they assume the Celtics are going to sell for an all-time record, which they absolutely are. It's, between 5 and 6 billion, maybe more, who knows. Yeah. And so they're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And so what the conspiracy theory is that she wants to move the Mavericks to Vegas so that she can own the Las Vegas Mavericks and tie them into her casino business.
Right.
And in order to do that, she needs to basically make the franchise so awful and make the fan base so miserable that they get, in quotes, driven out of town. And then she can go like, well, okay, I'll take them to Vegas, and then she can rebuild them in Vegas. Now, is that really happening? No, that's not really happening. That would be an insane thing to do, because her franchise was already worth a whole lot of money. But I love the idea that Nico Harrison's actions were so stupid and boneheaded that it led people to legitimately conceive of that as an option for what might really be happening.
Yeah, no, it's delightful. It really is the major league scenario, and utterly delightful. And it's not. I mean, clearly just Nico Harrison lost his mind. He at one point he clearly was just like, I want Luka out of here.
Yeah.
I want him out. I don't think he's, and all of those things that he said, I'm sure are true. I'm sure he doesn't like that he's not in great shape. I'm sure he doesn't like that. He does probably think that long term it's a problem. His health and his conditioning are a problem. That's all well and good. He's 25 years old. He's one of the 5 best players in the world. I mean, this is it's nonsense. All right. Time for our POScars. So here's what we came up with. The Oscars just happened. A bunch of movies and actors and writers and directors won their awards. Congratulations to all of them. However, our feeling is that these movies very often do not hold up. That when you look 25 years into the future, that you find that a whole bunch of different movies from that year actually are now super popular and still in circulation, while many of the Oscar-winning movies, in fact, most of them, in fact, almost all of them, have not been seen in decades and no longer carry any real power in the pop culture world. So what we decided to do is we're going to go back 25 years, all the way back to 1990, and look at the movies that won the Oscars, and then give our new Oscars, give our POScars. And then we decided to go back to 88 because we thought, let's go back even earlier. And we're gonna do this going forward from 1988. So we're gonna start in 1988, and I think first we should say what the Oscar winners of 1988 were.
Sure.
And so I've written those down. The 5 Oscar movies from 1988, and think in your mind as I read these when the last time you watched any of these movies. The Oscar winning movie was Rain Man. Then the other 4 nominees that year were The Accidental Tourist, Dangerous Liaisons, Mississippi Burning, and Working Girl. Those were the 4 other nominees in 1988. Dustin Hoffman won Best Actor for Rain Man. Jodie Foster won Best Actress for The Accused. Kevin Kline actually won Best Supporting Actor for A Fish Called Wanda, which was great. Gina Davis won the Supporting Actress for Accidental Tourist, and then your Best Director that year was Barry Levinson for Rain Man. They gave Rain Man basically everything. I think it won Best Writing too. I think it won a bunch of other things. It also, by the way, Rain Man, I to add to this, because this is not usually true about the Oscars, Rain Man was the top grossing movie of 1988 as well, which is not usually how this goes. So this was one of those rare movies that both won over the Academy and also was very popular. So with that in mind, I thought we would give our own POScars for each of these 6 categories. And I think we should start off with supporting actress, if you're good with that.
Before we do, it is wild that 1990 was 25 years ago. Isn't it so crazy? It seems like it's, first of all, it seems like both longer ago and also more recently than that somehow.
Yeah. It's the strangest thing how that's,
it's just time dilated somehow.
Time's a loop. It moves faster and slower.
It feels more like 35 years ago, but weirdly, if you do the math, it's not. It's 25 years ago.
I know. I mean, and look, I've had to do this with like a calculator just to back myself up.
Yeah.
25 years ago,
25 years ago, 1990. Wild. Yeah. Okay, so this is the 1989 Oscars. It's movies that came out in they were in March of 89. It was movies that were made in 1988.
That's
what
right.
We're saying. Which is what, 27 years ago, if you can believe it.
27 years ago, all the way back. Yeah.
All right. So what are we starting with?
Let's start with supporting actress. I think that's usually where we start. And of course, to remind people, the winner that year was Gina Davis for The Accidental Tourist. And so, do you want me to start? I'll start.
Go ahead.
But then I'll start. So to me, I've got 2 that I really, really like from 1988. One of them is Gina Davis, but not for The Accidental Tourist, which I don't believe anybody has watched in at least 26 years. I don't believe.
Correct.
However, there is a movie from 1988 that people have watched quite a bit that still carries tremendous cultural relevance. And that's Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice came out in 1988, and supporting actress in Beetlejuice, Gina Davis. So one option for me is to give Gina Davis, she gets to keep the Oscar. We just take Accidental Tourist off of it and put Beetlejuice on there.
I like that.
Which I think is possible. My other nominee that I'll throw out to you, by the way, I think we should throw out our own nominees and then we choose a podcast winner. My other nominee is that was the breakout year for Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts played in 1988 in Mystic Pizza, which I believe is either her first movie or certainly her first big breakout. So I also think, because of the obvious relevance that Julia Roberts has 25 years later, 27 years later, I'm happy to give the Oscar to Julia Roberts for Mystic Pizza. What say you?
I say those are both good choices. I love those as nominees. By the way I did this was I just looked at movies that came out in 1988, and if those movies came out too early in 1988 or something to qualify or whatever, I'm not interested in hearing about that. So nobody, I don't know. I think it's just any movie that came out in 1988.
Yeah.
I would like to nominate a couple people for supporting actors. One of them is Winona Ryder for Heathers, a movie that amazingly still has a ton of huge fans. Yeah.
By the way, huge year also in Beetlejuice. Winona Ryder, a huge year.
I would also like to nominate Priscilla Presley from The Naked Gun, which is one of the greatest movies ever made. And she does not get enough credit for being in that movie. That movie is incredible and still relevant.
Yes.
And there's one other. Elizabeth Perkins for Big.
Yes.
It's not the greatest part and everything, but incredible that in that movie she like has a sexual relationship with a child, and yet somehow you don't hate her because it's not her fault. She doesn't know that it
No,
happened.
she doesn't know. And also she kind of plays like she plays a very tough, like not supposed to be likable character at the beginning, and
It,
then we
it's a
see her
great
melt.
yes.
I love that.
It's a
I
great
love
performance. It is
yes,
it's a very, very good performance in a mostly thankless role, and she's very, very good in it.
yes.
But I have an actual winner here.
Okay.
In my opinion, the best performance by an actress, a sporting actress in 1988, in my opinion, without
Yes.
question,
Yes.
is Glenn Headley in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Dirty
Oh,
Rotten Scoundrels is
yes.
a incredible movie. It is
Yes.
so good. It's so funny. It's so memorable.
Yes.
No one would ever in a million years give a comedy best picture, but I think it's the best movie that came out that year. Steve Martin's incredible. Michael Caine's incredible, and Glenn Headley plays a. It is a incredibly flashy performance
Yes.
because spoiler alert, she plays a woman who appears to be a helpless ingenue who turns out to be one of the greatest con artists in the history of conning, and it's a absolutely fantastic performance.
Yes.
By the way, also in another nominee I would like to give in for supporting actress is Susan Sarandon and Bull Durham. Who
See, I have Susan Sarandon's maid.
is
I
she
have her
lead
as
actress?
maid.
Yeah, that was my only question. If she's
Yeah,
lead
I have her as
actress,
a lead.
she's
Yeah.
definitely getting nominated for lead actress for
Oh
that.
yeah, no,
Okay.
she is super high nominee.
Yeah.
These are great nominees. So your pick is actually
Glenn Headley, yes.
Glenn Headley, and I think my pick is going to be Julia Roberts. I think she was great in that role.
Great.
And it launched her. It
Have
launched
no
her. So,
problem with that. That's fine. Yeah.
very good. All right. Here we go. So for supporting actor, as we have mentioned, Kevin Kline won for Fish Called Wanda. He was actually very good in.
Sure.
Fish Called Wanda is very good, and it's not held up. It is not. It is. I mean, maybe the movie is held up, but nobody really watches Fish Called Wanda. I have two nominees, and I have one that I feel very strongly about.
Okay.
So the one I feel less strongly about, but I think was fantastic, is David Strathairn in 8 Men Out.
Sure.
I think fantastic. First of all, he's just fantastic in everything that he's in, but absolutely fantastic as the pitcher throwing the game, and just excellent, just totally excellent.
Yep.
However, I have a very, very strong number one, like somebody who I like. For me, like I looked at a bunch of others that I thought were really good, including Tim Robbins and Bull Durham, by the way, who I thought was excellent. But to me, far, far, far and away, number one, Alan Rickman in Die Hard. I don't even think there's anybody close to how good Alan Rickman was in Die Hard.
Okay, so generally agree. Rickman not getting nominated, crime against humanity. Robbins gets nominated too.
Yes.
Rickman is probably your leader in the clubhouse. By the way, also I would nominate whichever of Steve Martin and Michael Caine you think is the supporting actor in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Probably Steve Martin.
You think Steve Martin's more the supporting guy? They're both
yeah, I think he is because like Caine is
Yeah.
the guy who lives in the town and
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I look, if Rickman wins the POScar, I'm fine with that. I think no question. However, I actually have a different winner.
Okay.
My different winner is Charles Grodin in Midnight Run.
Oh, that is really good.
Midnight Run, criminally underrated movie. One of the greatest buddy comedies of all time.
Yes.
Charles Grodin is incredible. He's super funny. It's a wonderful performance. I think if again Rickman wins, I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
Totally fine. My vote's going for Charles Grodin.
Grodin was great. I again went back and forth on whether Grodin was a main actor. I mean, it's like it's De Niro and Grodin.
It could be two leads. Yeah, I don't know.
Kind of feel like two leads to me, and it's so good. There's so many lines in that movie that just stand. I got two words coming right at you. I mean, that movie is so fantastic. All right, I'm going to go with Rickman. You go with Grodin. I think that those are both excellent picks. All right. Best Actress, the winner that year was Jodie Foster from The Accused, which she was great in. Nobody saw that movie. Nobody's seen that movie since. Nobody saw that movie then. My two nominees for best are Susan Sarandon, as mentioned, for Bull Durham, who I would maybe just put number one. I mean, I just think she was so good in that. However, my other nominee was also just fantastic, and that's Michelle Pfeiffer in Married to the Mob. So good in that role. Just such a great role. Had to play it like to the hilt. Michelle Pfeiffer, I mean, I wouldn't call her underrated. Everybody knows Michelle Pfeiffer and everything, but kind of underrated in sort of the grand scheme of like Hollywood legends. Don't you think Michelle Pfeiffer belongs in that?
She's great. Class? Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
What are your nominees?
My nominees, I'm with you on both of yours. I think Melanie Griffith for Working Girl, who got nominated, I think deserves the nomination.
Oh, interesting. I think that movie to me does not hold up at all.
It doesn't hold up, but it's a good performance, I would say.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's good. In it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this isn't as strong a category for the POScars as some of the other ones.
Yes.
I would throw Susan Sarandon, I think it would be my vote.
Yeah, I think that's my vote.
And then there isn't really a leading act. There's no leading actress in Midnight Run. I think I'm with you. I think it's Sarandon, and I would re-nominate Melanie Griffith. Those are my two.
Yeah, I think that those are both excellent excellent choices. By the way, there was somebody that I meant to throw in there, but maybe it's in the main actor. I'll see what you think about this from a main to supporting actor question.
Okay.
So my main actors, Dustin Hoffman won for Rain Man. Like Dustin Hoffman needed another Oscar. I mean, like, you know, he was fine. Tom Cruise actually to me was better in Rain Man than Dustin.
I agree, actually. Yeah.
You know, I just think that Dustin Hoffman role was so ticky and you know, it was fine, but I mean, it just felt like a role meant to show off the actor, and I think Tom Cruise was actually really good at it. So the three that I have nominated for this, and again, I have one very strong choice. River Phoenix in Running on Empty was so good.
Sure.
So good. Just fantastic. It might have been, I don't think he was nominated, but just fantastic. The one that I couldn't tell if he was a main actor or supporting actor, but was so great, is Bob Hoskins in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Sure.
Just fantastic. What do you think? Main actor? Probably.
I think so. I mean, the only human in the movie gets main actor. I think that's fair.
Him and Christopher Lloyd. I actually had Christopher Lloyd as the supporting actor for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But yeah, but very good. And then my choice for number one, and I will even go as far to say that I think this might be his best ever performance, in my view. Tom Hanks in Big.
Yeah, that's the obvious one.
Yes.
Tom Hanks in Big, easy nomination, possible winner.
Yeah.
Do you consider Michael Keaton in Beetlejuice to be lead or supporting? Because if he's supporting, I want to go back and nominate him in supporting.
Oh yeah, he totally deserves nomination.
Yeah.
In either case. It's not really the lead, though, is he?
I think it's supporting. So let me go back. I'll throw him into the supporting category.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Look, Tom Hanks in Big, all-time performance, incredible performance, without question. However, unfortunately, he cannot win.
Oh my gosh!
Because the answer is Bruce Willis in Die Hard. If you're looking for a movie with lasting power, I mean, this is a movie that is rewatched and discussed every year for the last 27 years, ever since
how to classify it.
Ever since it came out in 1988, so 27 full years.
Yeah,
Die Hard has been rewatched on Christmas and discussed, and it made him into a superstar movie star.
Yep.
There's no question that he wins this award in my mind. He kind of steals it from Hanks because Big is an all-timer.
Yes.
but whatever. Also nominated in my POScars is Leslie Nielsen for The Naked Gun, which
Well, obviously,
again,
yeah.
I don't know how there's an argument that he doesn't get nominated. Frankly,
I mean, he's certainly nominated. I mean, there's no
I
question.
would nominate De Niro for Midnight Run.
Midnight Run, yeah, I think that's right. What
And
about Eddie Murphy for Coming to America?
that's the last one, I think, is Eddie Murphy for Coming to America. Again, not his best performance, but
no.
You want to talk about lasting,
Well, I really thought hard about putting John Amos as supporting actor. Like, I think, for Coming to America,
I would, and then I'm going to expand the category because Michael Caine for Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I would also nominate, and I would nominate Kevin Costner for Bull Durham.
Kevin Costner for Bull Durham, I think, has to be nominated. Look, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm happy to give this award to Bruce Willis, and Tom Hanks he'll win his awards later. It's fine.
Also,
I do really believe this was Tom Hanks's best performance.
You might be right.
I put it ahead of Gump and Philadelphia and Apollo 13 and all the others.
Unfortunately, the recently departed Gene Hackman's performance in Mississippi Burning doesn't even get.
No, that is not going to.
Sorry, but Leslie Nielsen was better. I don't know what to tell you.
I think Gene Hackman would agree with that. By the way.
I think so too.
All right, so for best director, before we get to best movie, I just kind of look, it's all of these movies that we're talking about. You can put the director, but I kind of feel like Robert Zemeckis for Who Framed Roger Rabbit should get best director. No,
that's the probable answer. However, John McTiernan for Die Hard didn't like that. What an incredible directing performance.
Yes. Oh, that is. By the way, this only confirms my belief that Alan Rickman should win for best. If we're giving all these awards to, Alan Rickman's the best part of Die Hard. Literally the best part of Die Hard. So,
true.
So I think he should win. Yeah.
I would say that Penny Marshall for Big should get nominated.
Yeah, very good. For sure.
I think the Zuckers.
Was she nominated? She might have been nominated.
I think she was. Yeah. The Zucker brothers got to get nominated for Naked Gun.
Well, of course. They just always. Of course.
People are going to think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I think that movie should have gotten 11 Oscar nominations and won 4 or 5 of them. And then who I don't know who directed Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Oh, Frank Oz. Frank Oz should have gotten nominated for Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. And then Martin Brest for Midnight Run. Those are my nominees.
Yeah. By the way, I've got another one to throw out at you, and I don't know. Maybe it just belongs in a different category. But what would you think about nominating William Friedkin for directing The Thin Blue Line?
Oh, sure. He's the kind of guy.
But
he's the kind of guy who,
in a different way.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy who gets Oscar nominations, and part of this is correcting the wrongs of history. You know. So I don't know. I think.
Look, if it means nominating him over the Zucker brothers, obviously we're not doing that. But just for posterity, I could see him being in the nomination.
Sure.
I'd still give it to Zemeckis, by the way. That's
by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot supporting actor Yaphet Kotto for Midnight Run. I want to go back and add that into the mix. Also, I will say that I think this is a little bit. This is like playing into the trope instead of against the trope, which is what we're doing. But Dennis Hopper directed Colors that year. That's a pretty good directing job of that. It's
pretty good, but it doesn't hold up.
It's not Naked Gun good, but it's pretty good.
No, and it did. That's what I'm saying. We already have so many. Look, we can't honor everybody who had great movies that year.
It's not it's not the Oscars of pretty good.
It's not the Reap Oscars of very it's only the best. All right, here are so now the movies. By the way, none of the movies nominated in 1988 are in my nominations. And I don't know that any of them even came that close.
Nah.
So my 5 nominees are I'll give you all of the people that the ones that I consider for nominees. One that we have not mentioned before, but I think has to get nominated is Twins. I think Twins has to be nominated for sure. I kind of feel like Scrooged deserves a little bit of
100%. I almost put Bill Murray in for Scrooge. Scrooge is great. Scrooge is wonderful.
This is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Mentioned Who Framed Roger Rabbit, mentioned Coming to America, mentioned Die Hard, mentioned Bull Durham, and mentioned Beetlejuice. So I think all of those. However, if we are going to stay as true to the POScars as we are going to stay, I think the best picture of 1988 is Die Hard. I think Die Hard is going to win.
Yes, I agree.
You agree?
Die Hard is the winner. My nominees are Die Hard.
Yep.
Big.
Yeah. Oh, Big is in my nominees.
Yeah. The Naked Gun. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and Midnight Run. Those are my nominees. And Bull Durham just on the outside looking in.
Just on the outside, yeah.
I mean, really, I probably put Bull Durham in there instead of Naked Gun, probably. But for the sake of, Bull Durham's a better movie, but Naked Gun's funnier. There's very few movies.
Bull Durham is funny. I mean, like
Bull Durham's funny. Naked Gun's funnier. Like I'm sorry, Naked Gun's funnier. It's got 450,000 jokes in it, and like 200,000 of them are funny. So I don't know what to tell you, but I mean, I think Die Hard's the movie of the year, and Midnight Run is second. I would say
Midnight Run. That's really good. Where by the way, because obviously not mentioned, but I mean, should special mention be made for Michael Winslow in Police Academy 5?
Of course it should. Yeah, special Lifetime Achievement Oscar for He was the Lifetime Achievement Oscar for his performance in Police Academy 5, no question.
Hey, that's 5 movies always coming up with different sound effects. Give me a break. I mean, that's impressive. So there you go. Our first POScars. I loved it. I think it came off great.
Me too. I think we've gone a long way towards correcting the wrongs of the Academy. And again, it's wild that this was 27 years ago.
27 years. I mean, the way time both flies and also doesn't fly at all.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. We are going to wait until next week to do our draft where we tell you who wins.
Should we pick another random year? Do we go in order? Or do we just pick a random year?
Oh, good question. I mean, there is something to going in order. There is something just going right to 1989. I kind of like that, actually.
Okay.
Even though going randomly would more fit what we do. But I say we go back 26 years. 1989.
All the way back to 1989. 26 long years ago.
Yeah. Ooh. Can you believe it?
Wild.
The time, just the way it goes by. So we'll do this in 1989. We also will pick our winners for the Team Gleason contest, which gives you guys, by the way, another week if you want to go to teamgleason.org/POScast and donate because we're going to wait one more week before choosing our winners. So if you get in there, hey man, you have a great shot of winning one of the incredible prizes we've got. teamgleason.org/POScast. All right, as we end this thing, one last meaningless thing to end this meaningless thing, and you start.
The opening of baseball cards and other cards for the Team Gleason raffle has reminded me of a kind of card I hate. I truly hate.
Okay.
It's a card they're called die cut cards. Okay. I don't know why. And I'll die cut. And I'll show you. You'll recognize the idea. It's this kind of situation.
Oh, where they're like these different shapes.
Yeah. Yeah. And they just stink. The die cut cards stink on ice. And we should listen to me, Topps, Panini, Fleer, Don Russ, all of you out there. No more. They're awful. They're bad. They're stupid. There's no point. Look at this shape. What is it, like a giant M kind of with like weird spikes coming out of it?
M, I guess.
Why are we doing this? Baseball cards and football cards and basketball cards are small rectangles. That's the shape.
They're rectangles.
That's the shape of them. And we don't need this garbage, this weird garbage. This is not, no one wants this.
Nobody wants that.
No more die cut cards ever for any reason.
Who felt limited by the rectangle shape? Like who felt like, this is my creativity is not being able to come out.
But also, yes, that's a good question. And also it makes you, when you see them in a pack, you're like, ooh, what's this? The answer is garbage. It's garbage. You don't want it. It's garbage. You want to throw it away. So no more.
So by the way, if you win, if you are one of our winners for teamgleason.org/POScast, our contest, I think Mike will send you every single one of those cards.
I'll send you this 2012 Topps Chrome Adrian Gonzalez die cut piece of garbage if you want it.
Only if you want it. We won't make you take it.
God.
All right, my one last meaningless thing. Then this meaningless thing, in hotels, and I only see these in hotels. I assume some people must have them in their homes, but I only see them in hotels. They've got these super duper magnifying mirrors for when you're shaving, right? So that you can. I can't get my arms and mind around these gigantic mirrors. Like there's a part of me that's like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And I use them and I will tilt it up and I will look. Man, I don't want to be that close to myself. Like, I don't want to be that close to, like, I kind of think they're my gut feeling is they're garbage, but I always use them. And like, cause I feel like they must be, now I'm really getting to see how close my shave is or whatever, but they're kind of garbage, aren't they?
Well, I'm going to say something that is probably obvious, but they're more for ladies than for gentlemen.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I just assumed they're for everybody.
No, I think that I think they're supposed to, in theory, be for anyone, but I would say that ladies use them more than gentlemen do for application of makeup and also eyebrow tweezing and things like that. So I think you can just safely ignore them and not have to worry about what to do with them.
So you're saying that at no point will people be like, come on, man. I mean,
why aren't you using? No, the concierges of your hotel will not demand to know why you're not using the extra magnifying mirror.
We noticed that the mirror was in exactly the same place today. When we
and how dare you?
Well, this is good information. This is good information. I figured they're unisex objects that.
I mean, I think they are. I just think that women have generally.
Have you used them? Have you used them?
No, I don't. I don't use them. I do use the anti-fogging mirror sometimes when you're shaving.
I like the anti-fogging mirrors.
Yeah, but I don't.
By the way, unbelievable piece of technology.
Really incredible.
The things that we can come up with.
Can we somehow award a 1988 POScar to the inventor of the anti-fogging mirror?
We should give a technical achievement award.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Right?
Yeah,
but I don't know if that happened in 1988.
Next,
I think we're just gonna say it happened in 1988.
We're gonna randomly assign a piece of technology to a certain year and award them a POScar. Yes, right.
Yes. So the POScar for 1988 for achievements in technology.
Achievement in technology. The inventor of the anti-fogging mirror. Yeah.
Anti-fogging. Good for you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's really an honor. All right, Mike. Well, as always, thank you.
Thanks for having me.